Welcome to How Do You Divine? An open conversation on how our perspectives differ based on our culture, experiences, and exposure to the world. In each episode, we'll explore how we have defined fundamental aspects of life while leaving space to learn, converse, and possibly expand or modify these definitions. Join me on this journey filled with laughter, intrigue, and most of all, courage, because true growth happens in the space between uncertainty and vulnerability. Our goal is to provoke meaningful conversations rooted in humility. I am Sanika, and let's define a divine existence. Welcome back to How Do You Divine? And first, I'd like to apologize for the long pause. There are so many questions. Thank you so much for everyone who's reached out via DM, via email. What's going on? Is the podcast even coming back? Of course it is. And I can go into all of the details of why it was such a long delay, all the transitions and evolutions to create a good brand and a podcast. But let's be for real. Who cares? We're here now. So thank you so much for your continued support. First, I'd like to welcome all of our new subscribers and visitors. That's like, what is divine? Is it how do you define, or is it divine? Actually, it's both. How do you define is a conversation about how we define one word based on our experiences, the academic definition, and sometimes our upbringing and our spiritual beliefs, because often those definitions conflict. And I'd like to hear more about how are you living in that definition? And does it even serve you in this phase of your life? It's so interesting to hear that one word can be many things for many different people. It's important to carve out a space where our differences shine. Not better, but different. Right or wrong. And understand that there is empathy in everyone's journey. And maybe we'll get to a place where people's differences are actually celebrated. My definition of success and happiness should be different than yours. God has created us all as individuals. Let's come together and create a great conversation. I want you to dive in and take it one word at a time. And today's word of the day is passion. How do you define passion? Passion can be so many things. Passion can be negative. Passion can be positive. But my passion and purpose will always bring me right back to this podcast. So what is passion? The formal Oxford Dictionary definition of passion is a strong, uncontrollable emotion. And that just seems so intense, right? When I first read it, I started thinking, oh, now I see what they mean when they say crime of passion, right? It's just like uncontrollable, just a way of grabbing us and keeping hold of us. But passion also has such a sweet essence to it. We see all of these athletes, their passion for the game, and all of the fans that will get real in the stands if they're not in the scores the way they need to. But it's such an interesting word, and it transcends so many different elements of our life. And I can bring in the statistics about how passion has negatively and positively impacted our world. But most importantly, I want to talk about what passion lives in your life every single day. I have achieved notable accomplishments in my life. If you ask me, I'm only getting started. I'm fortunate enough to be able to interview people who have excelled in various aspects of their life. For passion in our life every day, sometimes we can often be too busy just going through life to be present in the moment. Just take a look and take it all in when we're with our friends, when we're with our families, when we just like catch our vibe. You know, we often don't just stop and go, the way him drop that 666 there was passionate, boy. But to be fair, in Caribbean people, almost everything is passionate. Yeah, with that Luda game, 10 out of 10. Passion the all about. And sometimes that passion could be 45 minutes at the gym. That passion could be doodling as we listen to yet another Zoom call. Or it could be shutting down the world just to read a book. The other day I was having a conversation with a few friends of mine about purpose. And how do we come to define what our purpose is? And in that discussion, I realized that purpose is an intentional journey. You have to see yourself beyond your small space in this world to see how can you impact the people around you. I truly believe that my purpose in life is to bridge the gap in communication. Everywhere I go, I find myself in a conversation learning about someone's life. And I really enjoy it. It's mutually beneficial. They're looking for someone to listen, and I'm intrigued by their journey. And I feel that we both walk away with a beautiful exchange, and I see it as me spreading God's grace. Because often we see these mountains in front of us and think that we can't overcome them because they're too difficult. But God didn't just put us here kind of ready for purpose. We have to go through our journey, learn the lessons, and be carved in His image. With season 2, we brought back so much structure. You to the first segment, in the world of a word. We use the word that's driving this episode to dive into hot topics, what's going on in the world right now that's associated with the current word that we're diving into. Season 2 also comes with another segment. What's the vibe of the week? Vibe of the week, I usually pick a song that's driving me this week that I'm really vibing out to. Sometimes it's new, sometimes it's old. It can be any which way. But I'm all about music because music helps us move through life differently. You know, it has a vibe to it. So I'm going to share what's the vibe of the week, depending on what song I choose. And this week, vibe of the week is Janelle Monáe's I Like It. I like it. That song to me just embodies I am who I am, and I like it. So you can like it, you can love it, you can even hate it. But at the end of the day, I like it. And I love that song. I love Janelle Monáe as an artist. She just embodies who she is, the way she lives, and don't give two about it. And I'm all about that. Live your life unapologetically. Do your thing. Understanding that conversations can be transformational. I'm not an expert, but I'm fortunate enough to interview people who have excelled in different aspects of their life. And I welcome them to join me here on this couch to share with you their gems and how they were able to persist along the way to find where they are now. For me, success, happiness is not a destination. It's a journey. So I'm truly fortunate to be able to start living out this goal, this dream right now with this show. Having a discussion around purpose makes me so emotional. Because while I've been able to identify my purpose in this life, which is to communicate to the masses in an effort to simplify complex concepts that while I've been able to identify my purpose in this life of a word, and with this year being the 50th year of hip hop, I think passion is definitely aligned. Just a passion to build this genre of music that has literally ushered generations through such tumultuous times. We caught a vibe, we hit a bob. I personally remember being in the lunchroom and all you needed to hear is dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. And everybody was stopping it. You know we hitting Busta Rhymes. Hit you what you saying, know what you saying, yo. Silly with that 9 milli with the dilly, yo. It was a vibe. And I could just remember my first hip hop song. So as you guys may know, I'm originally from Jamaica. I'm an island girl, true and true. Yeah. So when I first came to New York, my mother, and my brother migrated to this country, all we knew was reggae. So if I wasn't Bob Marley and my people, them, I not really listen to them. And I remember one time I was hanging out with friends and I was always about music, deep in my R&B, deep in my conscious reggae vibes. That's like me and my Walkman. Yes, I said a Walkman, the CD, and you plug it in, you had it over your head, you had it out. You know, if you know, you know, and if you don't know, it ain't for you. You know, I was deep with my Walkman, and I remember one day we was playing on the radio, because that's how you made your songs back in the day. Back in the day, you waited to the radio to play the new joints. You got your parents' old tapes, and then you hit record, and you record over them tapes, and that's how you got the new joints on your Walkman, baby. That's how it was going down. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But I remember my first hip hop song that like snatched me, and I was like, what is that? Was Jay-Z. It's a hard knock life for us. It's a hard knock life for us. Saturday that. I was like, what is that? I really remember like being so hype off that song. I played it for days, back to back to back to back to back to back. And back in those days, this was before the 106 in Park. So when the video first came out, I was at every and anybody's house. Who got cable? Where can I see it? When is it coming up next? And I just think everybody has their first love of hip hop story. Share it with me. Put it in the comments. I want to hear, what was that song, that hip hop song that really had you in a chokehold when you first was introduced to hip hop? I'd love to hear it. Tell me who's your favorite artist. Tell me some major hip hop moments. I think like the beauty of hip hop turning 50, one, it really reminds me how young hip hop is. I remember being a kid and like anything over 30 was old. Like my family, my friends will tell you, you over 30? That's old. Everything was old. But now being older, I'm thinking like hip hop's only 50 years old? How is that possible? But I really want to hear more about what was your moment where hip hop really snatched your soul. What was that song? What artist really ushered you into this genre of music and kept you bopping? I know for me, I could just talk about so many different artists for so many different seasons of my life. I remember like till this day, I'm still H to the D to the is A. Jay-Z will always be top 3, number 1. Okay? Don't come over here arguing with me. Don't come over here arguing with me. And that's before everyone knew him as this big business mogul. He was always a movement in these streets in Brooklyn. So before Big Hova, we always knew him as Jay around the way. So next, let's talk about 50 years of hip hop. I love to see the different documentaries that's out, really bigging up all the women in hip hop. And I feel like anytime I even hear the term women in hip hop, and I think passion, baby, couldn't nobody touch Little Kim, the queen bee. Are you crazy? And it's so interesting now to see how she has influenced so many new artists, but all hail the queen. You couldn't touch Kim back in the day. You still can't touch Kim, but back in the day, babe, the style, top tier. Shorty didn't give a damn about nothing. And then we had Fox Boogie come out. We had Queen Pen. When I say Brooklyn it was a time to be alive. Like it was going down. We really did take hip hop to another level, and just like high school, middle school around those times was just like crazy. Everything was about that baby blue, baby fat set. It's so interesting like how the fashion, hip hop drives fashion, it drives the culture. We just running shit, and that's just really what it is. And I love that early in those days where I saw those early fusions of like reggae and hip hop. I was so hyped. When Beanie did this song with Maya, and it was just a good time to see hip hop evolve, like, and really like transition into different spaces. The battles of the boroughs was real. Like, don't come to Brooklyn talking about you from the Bronx. Like, don't do it. Don't do it. But it was a time. It was a time to be alive. So when I think of passion and how passion has driven me in my life, I always think music, because music has always been the energy, the backbone, the smooth sounds of everything that just kept things on the right path for me, a comforting element in my life. So tell me, what was your hip hop love story? What artist really ushered you into the genre? What artist, like, where were you during the Jay-Z Nas beef? Like, what were you doing? Where were you? What were you doing? I want to hear all about it.
Granted, 50 years of hip hop was in 2023, but here in 2024, we are still celebrating the remarkable accomplishments of our artists. And as I kick us off with episode 1, diving into passion, we have such amazing guests to come, and these are experts in their field who have truly left a mark on this world. I've enjoyed these conversations, and it's brought so much insight into my life, and I hope you guys will find these conversations beneficial as well. It is truly remarkable to see that as a community, we are coming together. We are really standing strong in our power and our light. At the top of every year, everyone does this evaluation of sorts. I don't necessarily believe in resolutions. I'm a goal setter. I like to put my big dreams in my mind and then start to write what I consider the small dreams down. And goals are places that we achieve to. And I think everyone has goals in life. And sometimes we're a bit scared to move forward with them because we feel like we're not enough, we don't know enough, we don't have the qualifications. How will I get there? But first and foremost is to know that be passionate about yourself. Be passionate about who you are and what you bring to the table in every room that you walk in. The same way that we are passionate about our money, we need to be passionate about our being. Those are things that we aspire to. We feel that this is something attainable if I just be consistent, if I keep my eye on the prize, if I get out of my own way, right? Start to stop blocking our own blessings. But I really feel like the difference between goals and dreams is your passion. You have to be passionate enough to feel that I can achieve something greater than I've ever seen, that it is bigger than a name, than an event that has maybe even happened in your family or in your world. So for 2024, let's move forward passionately, fearlessly into our bigger and better selves. So welcome everyone back to How Do You Divine? And in our next episode, we bring on our amazing guest. And I'm wondering, what do you think the next word we will dive into will be? 2024 will be a year to remember. And I'm declaring that for everyone, because God's dream for us, God's vision for us is so much bigger than our small minds can manage. And I truly believe that deep down in our hearts. But for 2024, I challenge you to do something passionate. If it's not every day, don't let a month go by that you don't pursue your passion. And you might not know what that is today, but if something is pulling you and drawing you in that direction, both good and bad, I want you to explore it. I want you to trust yourself to explore what is the draw and why am I moving in this direction, and trust that God's vision for you will manifest itself as long as we do the work. And if I'm honest, I'm speaking for myself, right? Part of the reason for this break was the evolution of what I call traditional podcast. Traditional podcast was mostly audio and maybe an event here and there. And we've really evolved as a community to be more visual and more personable. And it wasn't something that I was interested in, honestly, because the internet can be an interesting place. And it's like one of those things where it's interesting. Honestly, the internet can be a very superficial place. And I'm not a superficial person. The joke I always have is that I'm dope in real life. And I needed to get to a place where I got out of my own way. I can't have these big dreams and also want to conduct myself in a way that no longer is suited for the medium. And that's the honest truth. So, after working through my own BS, I am now moving out my own way, passionately moving forward fearlessly. I'm really excited since I've been on this journey thus far because it is breathtaking. It is supernatural in the way that things have aligned since I've gotten out of my own way. The amount of opportunities that have presented themselves, the amount of creativity that has sparked in both my heart and my head. I have done things that, not that I didn't think I could do before, that I didn't even realize I was interested in. Because I live my life authentically every single day with my daughters and my husbands and my friends and my family. I never actually saw the two things being one until I got out of my own way. I started to explore why I didn't want to evolve with the time, why I was so passionate about this podcast, but only in the way that I traditionally saw it. Why I didn't want to get on in front of a camera. And not that, and it had nothing to do with, I don't want to say it had nothing to do with self-worth, because I do nothing but love me some me. But as a mother of two daughters, it's very important to me that I am intentional about everything that I do. And that intentionality does not equate to perfection, to be clear. I want to be intentional. And what comes from my good intent and my pure intent, I'm okay with. Because trust and believe, I am rough around the edges in real life. So I'm never going to present myself as a porcelain doll, because it wouldn't last. It would break. Maybe it would break. But I had to be very intentional about getting out of my own way. Stop finding reasons and blockers to show up fully as myself in the moment and pursue my passions, right? Because that's how goals become dreams and dreams become reality, when you let go and let God. And as corny and cheesy as it might sound, you're listening to someone who has truly been living it. From the moment I decided I am going to put down what I considered my baggage, right? I say to my daughters, you can't be a servant of God carrying your own baggage. So be mindful of your actions, your intent, and be accountable to who you are. Not for me, but for yourself. So, it's like one of those things when you're teaching, as you raise your children, you're also raising yourself. And I had to realize that I wasn't living what I was saying for them to do. I was not following that practice. So I put my hands down and I opened up my world to the world. So welcome back to How Do You Divine? You can find me on you can find the podcast on all podcast platforms. You can also find my personal page, Sanika Nikki, that's SANIKANIKKI, on Instagram. And we're on YouTube. Look at me in front of the camera doing a damn thing. I'm so excited for these conversations to come to you. I've recorded a number of interviews thus far. And baby, I don't want to be the one to tell you, but we got some heat coming. We got some heat coming from some really dope people. I love to see our people shine. I love to see our people step in their presence and their power and show up, because that's what our community needs. We need to see ourselves in positions of power as well as positions of influence, in a way that is not necessarily tied to negativity and toxicity. Conflict does not equate to growth. Well, conflict doesn't always have to equate to growth, to be quite honest. And it doesn't have to be salacious to spread, right? I just want to be a part of the change I want to see in the world.
How do you navigate through decisions that don't sit solely in your spirituality or within society? Because we've often come to normalize things that aren't best for us. Trauma is not required. Pain does not need to be a part of love. Here in these conversations, we explore everyone's journey in hopes that you see components of yourself. To know that what you truly desire in this world is achievable. And not just because I said so, but because God has already put it in your heart, so therefore it can only come to light. But how are you being mindful throughout your journey to learn the lessons, have fun, and apply it in all aspects of your life? This show is my dream. I've always dreamed about having my own show. And at the time, I didn't realize it was a show. I thought it was just having conversations with people that I come across that I find intriguing. But throughout that journey, I've realized that having these conversations and a forum that I can share with many people would be more fortunate than just myself, because I learned so much from discussions that I have with my clients, my kids, my family, my friends, mainly because I've become open to the concept that I don't know everything, and I shouldn't. And the experiences of our community is what we will use to elevate ourselves. Join me on this journey where we leave space for empathy, we'll bust to a joke, and we explore how we all have similar backgrounds. So, how do you define passion? Is it more of that uncontrollable feeling, or is passion, the sexy kind of passion? And is it more negative or more positive? Because the word sits right in the middle. Love to hear about it. Leave it in the comments.
Thank you for listening. Continue to add dimensions to your definitions. Please join the conversation on all social platforms. #HowDoYouDivine. See you soon.